Akali is the one-shotting assassin with some of the weirdest combos in the game. The champion usually has a terrible win rate in almost every rank, but I have found a master player who has found the solution. This is Kunoichi, an AD Akali player in master tier. He has invented a build that turns Akali into a tanky bruiser that can take damage, stick on enemies, and survive for a long time in the backline, just like the old Akali. This is Akali on easy mode. This video is sponsored by Guild Wars 2, one of the biggest MMOs, with an estimated 440,000 daily players. Guild Wars 2 is available completely free to play, with no subscription required, so you can play hundreds of hours with no cost, with no pay to win. The character art in this game is incredible. Even Chime is cosplaying this week in his favourite Guild Wars armour. There is also a new expansion coming out, the final one for the game, End of Dragons, releasing February 2022, so now is a good time to get started. You can travel through all the early levels and experience all the years of content and deep stories the developers have added. To sign up, head to the link in the description. On the site you can click download now to get the game launcher. You can then click create an account, fill in your login details, and start playing really quickly, even with just a small portion of the game downloaded. While you're waiting, there's even a new player guide on the website, which is very welcome compared to some games. If you want a new world to explore full of quests and unique stories, sign up for Guild Wars 2 now using my link in the description, completely for free. Back to Akali. Our player, Kunoichi, is a German player on EU West. The name actually means female ninja in Japanese. He first started playing Akali all the way back in Season 6, playing top lane in Bronze 2 and using her to climb to Gold. In Season 7 he got bored of the usual Akali style and began trying out a more tanky build with the old Guardian Angel that had armor and magic resist, focusing on sticking to enemies and distracting their teammates. After a break in Season 8, he returned in Season 9 to a big change, the Akali rework. Trying the new AP build, he simply could not make it work, and could not climb. Mechanically, Kunoichi believes he's not great, so when playing a champion like Akali, he could not pull off the combos, and made too many mistakes so would always get killed. So once again, he decided to return to his old style, creating a slower paced AD build, once again fitting the champion to his playstyle. This build is much easier to play, giving him the leeway to make some mistakes and still come out ahead. With this build, he started climbing higher than ever before. By Season 11, with the new items, he again needed to find a new build for Akali. He tried the AP version, no luck, so instead he tested the AD Bruiser items. Gore Drinker was perfect. He once again began climbing, passing his peak, reaching Master and climbing even higher by the end of the season, to over 200 LP. But how can AD Akali work? All of her abilities deal magic damage. Won't she just be useless? Actually, Akali's abilities, even though they deal magic damage, scale incredibly well with AD. Her passive has AD scaling, and of course the auto attack does a lot more damage. Her Q has AD scaling that's even better than the AP version, and both her E and ult again have AD scaling. So Akali gets the benefit of building these strong AD items to get through early game, then upgrade them to survival bruiser items to let her stay around in fights for much longer, all while still having the option to buy AP items, like Zhonya's for the OP active. AD Akali can do it all, while being even easier to play thanks to her tankiness. At level 1, Akali takes Q. Her early levels with any build are always her weakest. She tries to grab as many CS as possible without taking poke, grabbing E at level 2. In some matchups you can actually look for a solo kill, since she plays with TP Ignite. Akali is one of the champions that is so mobile, flash is not needed. She has 3 spells that can be used for mobility, and reactivated for even more. His main combo in lane is E into auto attack into E2 into another auto attack, igniting to look for a kill. Maximizing his damage using auto attacks and passive gives you enough damage to burst squishy champions, and beat them with the ignite. Taking W at level 3, Akali keeps playing for CS, looking to base early on for pickaxe as her first damage. This sets her up for level 6, where the champion takes off in power. She can now look for 1v1 solo kills against almost any top laner, again with a focus on using E and auto attacks for damage, sticking on enemies with ult. Akali is great top lane, especially with this AD build. She can use all of her abilities just to stay on top of enemies, DPSing them with auto attacks. And since he takes teleport, he's constantly looking for opportunities to use it. AD Akali is a great teleporter as she has the damage to contribute in early fights, while also having the high mobility to clean up multiple kills. Kunoichi keeps wave near his tower, not using his Q on the wave to make sure he doesn't shove it. If enemies walk close, he can engage and chase them down, staying untargetable in his W to avoid any return damage. Early skirmishes on AD Akali are all about choosing one enemy to focus, and staying on them with auto attacks until they die. He buys his first item, Gore Drinker. This item is ideal for Akali. She is a dive champion who often often struggles if she's in a group of people. When you play her, you always want to jump into a group of enemies and try and kill everyone, but every time you do it, you die, because you're too squishy. AD Akali can finally make this terrible play work out, with her tankiness and gore drinker to keep her alive long enough to enter her shroud. Kunoichi stays in a side lane throughout mid-game, continuing to take 1v1s and go for solo kills on anyone he meets. He continues looking for teleports, especially bot lane. By the time he has one item, he will not die to an AD carry, so can clean up double kills anytime he joins. The risk of counter ganks are not very high, so he can use Shroud to avoid any damage during the initial engage, so he'll still be able to turn if anyone teleports or ganks. With Gore Drinker active and Q, he can now one-shot waves, so he can easily push and move to a team fight. In team fights, finally AD Akali power spikes. With Gore Drinker and another AD survivability item, Akali looks first for an assassination. Her damage is still really high. She can enter with R1, using Gore Drinker auto-attack Q to burst an enemy, then using her tankiness to stall out the fight. Unlike the AP version, AD Akali wants to extend the fight as much as possible to try and get maximum value out of her E and Gore Drinker, using them multiple times. The longer the fight, the better it is if you have sustained damage, just like Akali. Akali can engage these fights, using E and holding it, waiting 2 seconds for energy and cooldowns to return, then going in after enemies think it's too late. Using E on the enemy frontline is another good option to enter. Akali can go in and cancel it using her ultimate, to reposition and reach the backline. If you're not the one to get hit by the shuriken, you're not likely to notice it or play around it, so Akali can take advantage of this, entering the backline, disrupting enemies, and sticking on the carries for as long as possible, continuously disrupting their formation and leaving their frontline with no damage. This fight shows why AD Akali is so good. Usually, Sejuani would just engage onto her, use ultimate while her team follows up, one-shotting Akali, letting Aurelia clean up the fight. But with Akali's tankiness, she is engaged on and can walk it out, kiting away from danger. A good re-engage lets Akali go straight onto the enemy backline, collecting a kill with absolutely no danger. She can now take big risks, like going into this group of 3 enemies to get a pick, stalling in the shroud, and being just tanky enough to handle the damage and get out. Late game, Akali stays mobile and only gets harder to deal with extra tools like Zhonya's, comboed with her Gore Drinker and all of her dashes. She always has a way to outplay in any situation, like exiting with her ult's second charge. If Akali is engaged on, he uses all the tools he has to stall to avoid any damage or CC, letting enemies waste abilities, and then turning the fight, going in on the carry to pressure them and stop their DPS. The most important part of Akali are her combos, so here are some simple ones that Kunoichi uses every game. Your passive auto-attack damage cannot be cancelled. The damage will always go through, but you can cancel the animation to make it super fast. If you use your R into your E, it's pretty much guaranteed it will land, because you always know which direction the enemy is. Gore Drinker can be used during your E in mid-air, letting you fit it into your combo without losing any time. Gore Drinker can also be used during ultimate. You can press it while you're in the air, and it goes off at the end, again speeding up your combo, and making sure you immediately regain health. Using E on his Shroud is a common extra trick to outplay enemies. If he's engaging, he can use E to move forwards, always having the option to run away, like Yone E, so the play is very safe. If he's trapped and trying to outplay, then again, your ability should either be used for damage or to return to a zone of safety, like your Shroud. One huge difference between AP and AD Akali is how energy is used. The Q ability on AD Akali is much less important than her E, as that lets you stick on enemies and use your Gore Drinker and auto attacks for DPS. Spamming Q actually decreases your overall damage and limits the plays you can make. You want your fights to be long, so controlling your energy use means you can wait for your window and be ready to go in when it appears. Kunoichi bans Camille or Riven every game, champions that can beat his sustained damage. His unique advice for matchups: even in bad matchups, it's important to identify when you still have an advantage. For example, against an Aatrox, it's a hard lane, but Akali has a big advantage at level 1, so you can gain control of the wave to get an XP advantage. Against Aurelia, you struggle a lot early on. She beats you in any fight, but after level 6 you can now win. For his AD build, Kunoichi starts Door and Shield every game for the defensive start. Early base for pickaxe is ideal to set up his level 6 solo kill. Iron Spike Whip is another good component for your combo, going straight into Gore Drinker as his mythic. Kunoichi has built Stridebreaker in the past. It's not as good for team fights, but it does help him get more 1v1 picks. For boots, he goes Sorcerer Shoes most games, because Magic Pen is still important since your abilities still deal magic damage, but can take tank boots if enemies have too much of one damage type. Next, he finally gets his survival items, Death Stance against AD, otherwise by Sterax. Both completely throw off enemies and keep Akali alive for way too long. After this, he has a ton of options. He can buy AP items or more AD. Demonic Embrace is good against high HP enemies. Zhonya's active Protective is really good, so you can buy that for the safety, Morello's for anti-heal, or Void Staff if you need to shred magic resist. For his runes, since he is a bruiser, he loves Conqueror, with secondaries just to help him in lane early on. In Season 12, Kunoichi already has a new build he is testing. The Gore Drinker build is still great, but he now has the option to go into a Shadow Flame AP build as well, with Proto Belt into Shadow Flame into Void Staff for a stupid amount of magic penetration. This build is so overpowered at the moment that Akali's win rate is almost 50% in all elos, which hasn't happened for 3 years, so it will be nerfed very soon. If you want to see more of Kunoichi, his stream and YouTube are in the description. Thanks again to Guild Wars for sponsoring this video, please check them out as well.